Welcome to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Main, awesome wife and dog mom for life. I'm a sex therapist turned sex coach, and I run a successful business selling relationship enhancement products. I absolutely love talking about all things sex. So you can expect this podcast to explore all things related to women's sexual health because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you discover and embrace what brings you pleasure so that you can own your sexual self. If that sounds good to you, then keep listening and let's fucking do this. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. Wow, almost the end of the year. We have this episode and one more coming at you for 2021, and then that is a wrap. I'll be back the first week of January, really not taking any time off. It's been a good year for the podcast. Thank you all so much for listening and your continued support throughout this. I super appreciate it. And as always, as I was kind of mentioning last week, I want to do my best to hold my promise to you. One of my promises to you is that I will always have free, accessible resources for you all to take advantage of, because as my number one goal in the work that I do, it is really to help you feel more confident in your sexual life and in your relationships. So this conversation that I'm having with you today is really evolving around my relationship regroup. If you've been listening to the podcast, I had my business coach on with me to talk about her relationship board meeting. That is Alexa Martinez. Now her name, she recently got married. Her now name is Alexa Bowditch. And when she introduced this relationship board meeting to me, it was something that I thought was really, really cool. It was something that Danny and I could sit down and do in our relationship and really help map out what was important to us. So we had tried to do that a few times. We kind of fell off the wagon with it. And over time, I realized that when I looked at her when I looked at her relationship board meeting, there were some really, really powerful pieces to it. And also there were things that I wanted to include on it, or that as we did start to do it more frequently in our relationship, there were things that were coming up in our conversations that seemed meaningful to us and that they were important priorities to us in our relationship. So basically what happened was, and I had full permission from her to do this. Of course, when you're in this coaching industry, a lot of things are going to look similar, yet they're all going to have their own unique twist to them. And so I was able to adapt her relationship board meeting into what I call my relationship regroup. And really what this is in a nutshell is it's a guide, basically. It's your guide for your weekly check-in with you and your partner to sit down and plan and conquer the relationship that you both desire. So this thing really has a lot of moving parts to it, but I will say when Danny and I have been sitting down to do this in its entirety, it usually takes us about an hour or so to complete this. And so this episode today, I wanted to really go through and just break down the pieces of this for you. I did do the masterclass last week on this, and it was freaking awesome. So I do have the recorded version of me walking through this. So if you're more of a video person, you can go ahead and find that on my website, rachelmain.com. It's under the resources. This is a free resource to you. Free, okay? There is no cost for you to get this. In fact, my goal for this is something that I really, really believe in, and I want as many people as possible to have this in their hands. I want as many people as possible to be using this, because I'm going to tell you, I have seen it makes such a difference in our marriage and the way that we're communicating with each other, the way that we're showing up for each other, and the way that we're connecting within ourselves, but also with each other from doing this has been just incredible. So I want as many of you to have this as possible. So if you're on my email list, you will get the recording to this week's podcast, as well as the recording of the masterclass that I did last week, as well as a link for you to click and download the Relationship Regroup worksheet yourself. Okay, so it's about 13 pages long. This episode, I'm going to walk you through kind of the intention of it, the purpose of it, what you're going to do throughout the Relationship Regroup. And really, I think from there, you're going to be able to see how this will make a difference in your life. Okay, so the purpose of the Relationship Regroup, again, this is going to provide you with an open space to talk about the things that you prioritize in your relationship, and you're going to do that on a regular basis. Okay, so it's going to allow you to create a healthy routine for reflection and connection, and also the opportunity to strengthen your partnership. And ideally, I would suggest doing this on a Sunday if you can. That's usually when Danny and I sit down to do it. Sometimes, if life gets crazy, might end up being on a Monday night or sometimes a Tuesday night. But typically, we shoot for Sundays. And even recently, which something is really cool to me, is that recently Danny came to me on a Sunday and was like, "Hey, are you ready to sit down and do our regroup for the night?" I'm like, yes, yes, I am. Like, thank you so much. So now we're at this place because we have been doing it consistently, that it has become a routine in our life, and we have both seen the benefits from it. We just feel so much more organized throughout our week. We feel more intentional. We feel more connected. And not only do we feel that connectedness actually doing the regroup, but also, again, throughout the week because of the parts and the things that you discuss throughout the regroup. So again, ideally, if you can shoot for Sundays, shoot for Sundays. I think that that's just an ideal time that gives you the opportunity to set up your full week. However, this is something that you can wholeheartedly adapt to fit your relationship. And I want to say that again in a way too that gives you full permission. If there's something on this regroup that just doesn't align with you, it doesn't seem to really fit in your life, it doesn't, really provide value to you, or it's something, again, it just doesn't fit in your life, that's totally fine. Just cross that out on the regroup, okay? This is not something that you have to do every single thing on it. And I'll say, in doing this consistently for the last few months, we have, there's some things that we talk about, one week, and then the next week we don't feel like we need to bring that thing up again. For instance, maybe goals for the month, right? So we might discuss goals at the beginning of the month, and maybe we do check-ins throughout the month around what our goals are for that month, but we don't have to talk about what our goal is every single month, right? We kind of do that at the beginning of the month, and then you're done with that. Same thing for things like around finances. Finances is not a piece here. So one of the questions is, is there something that needs to come up that we need to discuss financially? Maybe we're making a decision around making a big purchase. Maybe, for us, we're looking at investment properties. So we want to make sure that we schedule time for that outside of the time that we've already set aside for the relationship regroup. Okay, because sometimes I have heard, and we have experienced, money can be a bit of a hot topic for a lot of people in relationships, right? It's something that honestly stresses a lot of people out to talk about. So designing a separate time to schedule what we call our money date, which is actually something I also took from Alexa. We set a whole separate time down that we can just dig and dive in deeper into the money financial piece of the regroup. Okay. So those are just a few examples. So essentially, your ultimate goal of the relationship regroup is to consistently check in with your partner in a way that is going to serve both of you. So this is not something that's designed for, I'll use myself as an example. This is not something that I'm doing this regroup so that I can let Danny know how busy my next upcoming week is, and how stressed I am about this stuff, and asking for, him to do chores or do this thing that I need, or take this to this, or the dog's here. That's not, while that is a piece of it, this is really, again, a way for you to connect and for both partners in the relationship to have a space to bring up the things that they need support on or support around. All right. So during the regroup, you are going to create a space that is safe and open for discussion. So you want to turn off all distractions. We don't have the TV on. We have our phones near us, but we aren't sitting there scrolling on our phones. We will have our phones there accessible if we need to look something up or anything like that. But for the most part, we are either sitting on the couch or we're sitting at our kitchen table, and we are, 100% into this. We're very in tune to what is going on. And you're going to review your previous week, right? You're going to share how you worked well together that week, or what went well, what you can improve on for this upcoming week. You're going to plan your upcoming week. You're going to share gratitude and love for yourself, for your partner, for your relationship. You're going to schedule the things that are important to you. You're going to be proactive about the things that are going to be coming up that are going to pose challenges in your life. So that way you're not going to feel blindsided by the shit that comes up in life, right? If you already know about it and you can prepare for it, that is going to make that go all the more seamless and flawless for you. All right. And you can, of course, share an update on your own individual goals and your own intentions throughout life and throughout the relationship, as well as finally, of course, continuing to build and enjoy the desired relationship that you both have. That is such a huge piece of this because when you think about, and you've heard me talk about this, when it comes to sexual desire, and especially for females and with males too, but when your brain, we know our brain is our number one sex organ. So if our brain is not turned on, the rest of our sexual self is not turned on, which is why I love this regroup. When I can share openly with Danny the things that I know that are coming up in my week that are going to be stressful, the things that are gonna tie up my time, um, and ask for the support that I need around that, and also schedule in the time for us to sit down and be connected and go for a walk or go for a lunch date or do a dinner date or spend time with friends. That makes such a difference, and it has made such a difference in our marriage because when I know that we put the pieces in place so that everything essentially is taken care of. Of course, things are fluid and things are going to come up last minute. Things aren't always going to go to plan. But for the most part, when we design this thing, like when we literally design and create what our week is going to look like, it goes really well. And that allows me in my brain, because I know how I operate, if I'm stressed out about something that I have to do in my business, or something that, event that's coming up that's maybe stressing me out, if I know that I've already shared that with him and he's holding space for me to feel that, maybe that anxiousness or feel that stress, but also we've put the things in place to help eliminate some of those feelings for me, and for him, then that allows me the more clarity in my mind to be open to receiving and giving pleasure, within our relationship. So I hope that makes sense. When you can use this regroup to kind of help, lower the volume in your mind around all of the non-intimate stuff, that allows you to turn the volume up on the more intimate things and the things that you want, right? You want to show love, you want to feel gratitude, you want to make connection. So that's essentially, what this is designed to do. So your overview of this regroup, you're going to again set those intentions. So what is it that you're wanting to get out of this week's regroup? Again, expressing that gratitude, showing love for each other, doing those weekly reviews. You're then going to take a deep dive into the relationship pillars, which I have those laid out for you in the regroup. And then you're also going to schedule the things that you prioritize in your life and in your relationship. All right. So checking in and setting intention. So again, creating that space that you have no distractions. You're going to leave everything at the door. You're really just going to allow yourself to drop into this moment and be present with each other. The first thing that you're going to start off by asking one another is, how are you feeling right now? How are you feeling right now? And for people that might struggle to answer that question freely in the beginning, because I'll say, the regroup, and when we started off, we were doing the relationship board meeting, it can feel a little crunchy. It can feel a little awkward, especially if you're not, when I say the word intention, you're like, I've never used the word intention in my life. Then I get that. So I want to validate that. And I'll tell you, we also felt that same way. When I would first ask Danny, how are you feeling right now? Most people's answer are good. I'm feeling good. Right? How often, how many times a day do you say that in your life? I'm feeling good. One of the things that my coach always challenges me on is to not use the word good anymore, or even great, right? I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling energized. I'm feeling present. I'm feeling exhausted. I'm feeling cautious. I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling frustrated, right? Using words like that, more descriptive words instead of just, I'm good. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine, right? It kind of goes along with the same mentality of that. So if you're someone that struggles to answer that question, I do have something that I took from Alexa on here, is to give it a color. Give your feeling right now a color and share it with your partner. So explain why you might be that color. So if you're green, you're feeling energized, you're feeling present, you're feeling creative. If you're yellow, you might be tired, feeling neutral, kind of cautious. And if you're red, you might be feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, or frustrated. Okay, the next question you want to ask each other is, what is your intention for today's regroup? So recently, I'm thinking of our last regroup that we did. Danny and I sat down, and my intention was, I knew that we had a busy week. I'm kind of the keeper of our tasks and our obligations throughout the week. I guess I almost feel like a secretary sometimes, because I'm the one that keeps a really solid planner. I know where we got to be, what time we got to be where, and all that good stuff. So my intention for a recent regroup that we did was to really make sure that we had the things in place, because I knew that coming up we had, we pretty much had something scheduled every single night. And so my intention going into that was to make sure that we were able to create a clear plan for the week and make sure that we were both on the same page and put the things in place that we needed to make sure that we eliminated any stress, or really letting, things like laundry or meal prepping or making time for a date night or a date day, we didn't want those things to fall between the cracks. And his intention for that regroup was wanting to set the tone for us to get up earlier, to get back on track with our healthier eating, to get back on track with our workouts. And because he knows, really that's the thing for both of us. We know that when we start our days off with productivity, we're much more productive just throughout the day. And that also frees up time in our afternoons/evenings to really enjoy each other's company. So that was just an example from our recent intention setting. All right, so then you're going to move into the recap section of the regroup. You're going to take a moment really to review the past week, and some questions that you can ask each other for this part is, how did you feel loved by me last week? What did we succeed at last week? And what can we focus on to do better this week? And I love these questions. I especially love the how did you feel loved by me last week, because if you listened to last week's episode, we talked about the love languages. And so this really ties in with the love languages. If you haven't yet listened to that episode or taken the love languages quiz, I would highly recommend doing that as soon as you can, for both you and your partner, because the how did you feel loved by me last week question really goes towards, some of Danny's answers might be, I felt loved by you last week when, every morning when we wake up, you always put your hand on my chest and cuddle me. And that's, literally that's how my husband wakes up every single day. I am essentially his alarm clock. And his love language is physical touch. His second love language is words of affirmation. So usually I'm kind of, rubbing on his chest. I'm laying on his chest, on his arm. Maybe I'm, scratching his back, stroking his hair, something like that. And I'll always ask, how did you sleep? How are you feeling? I love you. Let's have a good day today. Those sorts of things. And for me, with being the acts of service person, my answers usually revolve around, I felt loved by you when you took my packages outside, or you took my packages to the post office for me, or right now I'm recording this and he is on his way to pick up something that we ordered online and doing an in-store pickup. And so, I'm just getting up here working, and he comes in, I'm like, oh, where are you headed? He's like, oh, I'm going to go pick up that thing from the store. I'm like, great, right? Because I had that on my to-do list to do today, and that's something that he's taking off my plate. And that's acts of service. That is the love in my life. And also words of affirmation. So telling me, at night when I'm getting ready for bed, how beautiful I am, or how great my ass looks in lingerie, things like that. All right, so those are some questions that you can ask to do that recap. Then you're going to move into the gratitude piece. And gratitude is one of the most effective tools for creating more love and intention in your life. It really, 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 truly is. So taking that time to show gratitude now in that moment by facing each other, looking each other in the eyes, and sharing what I would suggest as these 4 things. And I'll tell you, this is one of my most favorite pieces of the regroup, because it really does provide some connection, and it really does, it pulls out the feels. It really does. So you're going to first show love to yourself. You're going to show love for your partner. You're going to show love for your current relationship. And then you're going to show love for your future relationship. All right. So an example of that might be, I'm showing love for myself because I am proud of myself for sticking to what my intentions were for this last week. And so I'm proud of myself for honoring those things. I'm showing love to you because I'm super proud of you for completing your real estate course. I'm showing love for our current relationship because I just think that we have been killing the love language game, and we are really, really loving each other based on our love languages, which I think has really strengthened us. And I'm showing love for our future relationship as we continue to do this regroup and build and create the thing that we and how we want our marriage to look. So that was a short example of maybe what that could look like. Now, there's some pieces of this too. When we do the relationship regroup and things come up, maybe when I asked, how did you feel loved by me last week? Maybe I didn't do well. Maybe I didn't do a good job. Maybe he gives me some suggestions like, I'd really love for you to touch me here or do this, or I'd like if we could spend more quality time together, whatever it is. And so a piece of this, and one of the perks of actually printing this out if you're able to, is that I give you some writing space. I give you some space to jot down those intentions, to jot down the things that you want to show gratitude towards, because I think that just also, it kind of ingrains them in you a little bit more when you're speaking them out loud and you're writing them down. Okay, whew, I know. I told you, man, this thing is a beast. It has a lot of working parts, so bear with me. Again, if you can watch the replay of the masterclass, I think that'll be really helpful for you. And this is just, I just hope you love this thing as much as I do. Okay, so your weekly overview, and this is the part really where we get into it, where I say if there's some things that don't just align with you, they don't add up in your life, just skip over them, right? Cross them off if you need to. But basically, you're going to go through these 4 things. You're going to go through your commitments. You're going to touch on where she's at in her cycle, or you are at. Most of you are women that listen to this. You're going to touch on your relationship things, and then you can look at upcoming weather. Okay, so your commitments. In this section, you're going to talk about the things that, like, what are your commitments that are on your calendar this week? And that could be for you individually. That could also be things that you both need to be at together or want to be at together. What needs to be communicated about right now? So is there anything pressing that is going on that you have the space to bring up and talk about right now? Is there anywhere that you will need support in this upcoming week? And are any of these things that you've talked about, are any of them causing you stress? And what pieces, again, can you put into place to eliminate that feeling of stress? All right. Now, her cycle. I know this is new to a lot of you, but I have several podcasts that talk about the cycles of your menstruation, okay? Knowing where the female is at in her cycle is such a game changer for the relationship. Your hormones are different based on where you're at in your cycle. Your mood is different. Your sexual energy is different. The way you want to be loved is going to be different. This is such an important piece. And so knowing if you are in the menstruation phase, if you're in the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, or the luteal phase. All right. And there is a whole sheet designated to give you resources on this. It'll help you, if you're new to this, figure out where you are at in your cycle. I also do have a podcast episode about that as well. Knowing, once it's the last day of your menstruation, you go into your follicular phase. You're there for about 10 to 14 days. Then you go into ovulation. You're there for about 3 to 5 days, and then you go into your luteal, and you're essentially in your luteal phase up until you then begin menstruation again. And again, your mood, your energy, everything really shifts through each of those 4 phases. So then you're going to go into your relationship piece. So what play do you want to schedule together this week? Do you want to do a lunch date? Do you want to do a night date? Do you want to do some sex exploring? Do you want to play the 3-minute game? Do you want to include some massage night with each other? What are the things that you want to do in your relationship? When can you create space to connect in your relationship? What date nights do you want to plan? How much time do you want to carve out for one another? These are questions you're going to ask each other. All right. And then your final section is the weather section. So really taking a look at that upcoming week and seeing what the weather entails. Are there days that it looks like that you can plan to go outside and enjoy nature a little bit together? Are there days that are nicer outside that you maybe can do the yard work together? Maybe you want to plant some new trees or plant your garden or do some grooming around the yard. Prepare for winter. That was one thing that we were able to do later this week. For us, this is usually when we plan, our hot tub nights together. So the weather really can play. I know when I first saw this, I'm like, who the fuck cares about what the weather is going to be like? But it really does make such such a difference, and it opens up new opportunities for you. Again, what days are better for more of a cozier night in? Maybe there's an activity that you're excited about. And again, the whole point of this is that you are getting things scheduled. You are being very intentional about what you're doing with your time throughout that entire week. I give you another page here, blank page, to just jot down things that are worth writing down. So this is pretty much like a free space for you. So, if your partner says something, or if you're thinking something that you don't want to forget to share, this is going to be your space to write those things down. All right, now your foundation. The foundation, think of these things as the 4 pillars of your relationship. All right, so you have the intimacy side, you have your financial side, you have your social side, and then you have your home side. For us, those were the common themes that were coming up in our conversations. So these are what I've kind of deemed as your foundational pillars of the relationship. So we'll cover the intimacy section first. Again, getting connection on the calendar. Some examples might include ones that I've already mentioned, but the 3-minute game, sexploration, quickies, bathing or showering together, massage. I mentioned our hot tub nights, lunch dates, things like that. So where is the intimacy piece of your relationship going to fit in? And again, scheduling these things. Scheduling can be sexy. It gives you something to look forward to during your week. All right, then you can move into the finances piece of the regroup. So, are there any upcoming non-regular expenses? Okay, these are things, again, that those expenses that are coming up that you might not have planned for. You have an upcoming trip, anything like that. Those are things that you can discuss during this time. Are there any bills that need to be discussed, right? Maybe is your DTE bill unexpectedly super high all of a sudden? Maybe you want to talk about that. Whatever this might be, right? This is going to be different for everybody. Everybody's finances are different. And is it a good time to check in on savings goal? If the answer is yes to any of these things, so if, again, there are money things that need to be scheduled, or discussed rather, I highly recommend scheduling a money night for either this week or the next week to discuss these things. All right, so the finance piece of the foundational section of your regroup is really just to touch base on these things, and then schedule something if you need to. So we are trying to be better at this in our marriage, in scheduling a money night on a monthly basis, to just kind of go over our expenses for the previous month. That allows me to stay accountable in my business, because then I'm going through and making sure that I've put in all of my write-offs, I've put my income in, so I can very visibly see what my businesses are profiting me on a monthly basis. And that also helps me stay accountable, because then when it comes tax time, I have all that stuff taken care of, and that eliminates a huge stress for me at the end of the year. So we actually have a money date coming up next week. Our last regroup that we did, we wanted to make sure that we're checking funds and stuff, especially with, again, Danny leaving his job recently. We want to make sure that we are just on track with our savings and bills are taken care of and all that good stuff. So then you have your social section of the regroup. Okay, so how can we prioritize our health this week? What's something new that we want to try? What friends do we want to be able to connect with this week? What family members need our attention? And or what kids' activities are there coming up this week? So really the social piece, that is such an important section of this, because you want to make sure, I think oftentimes when we get in relationships, maybe if you're new in the relationship, it's really easy to get cozy and stay home. It's really easy to not go out and see friends. It's really also easy to kind of slack on the connection that you have. And so we love this part of our regroup, because we can really think, okay, what friends are we missing? What friends do we, feel a desire to hang out with? Who do we want to spend our time with? Who haven't we seen in a while that we want to, be able to connect with? Those sorts of questions. So it kind of just allows us to be a little bit more balanced and equal in our social time. And on the other hand too, making sure that on every free night that we have, we're not necessarily going out and doing something with other people. We want to make sure that we're also taking the nights, just for the two of us to do things. And so maybe we're doing something just the two of us, but still going out and being social. Okay, so maybe we're going to a concert, maybe we're going to a sporting event, something like that. All right, and then the home section of your foundation. So, how can we improve our morning and night routine? This is one of my favorite questions. This is like a constant struggle in our marriage, is us waking up at a decent time, going to bed at a decent time, what we do in the morning when we wake up with our time, what we're doing before bed. This is something that we are always wanting to literally discuss. So, another question might be, when can we meditate? What home improvements are needed? What meals can we plan ahead? Which household things need to get done? These are, again, you're just checking in with those home related things, because this is such a huge piece of stress for people in relationships. Again, for me, if I'm if it's coming down to sexy time and the dishes are piled up, the laundry is all piled up, the house is a mess, the dogs are crazy, like those things very much play a part in my sexual desire. So there are moments where I literally will just go like look at Daniel and be like, the kitchen is stressing me out. Like I literally can't even think of anything else besides getting the kitchen together. Like, can we just take the moment and tackle these things and get them out of the way? So, and yeah, so giving yourself space to talk about those things. And again, something that we were able to do, tying in with the weather, when it was starting to get a little bit colder outside, we knew that we needed to get the backyard picked up. We wanted to kind of get everything winterized, wanted to put things away, tarp over our wood, type over the bonfires and all that stuff, outdoor furniture. And so we saw in a few weeks past, we had a really nice day coming up. So we took that and we said, all right, so this day, one of our priorities, when we get up, we're going to do our morning things. And then, in the early afternoon, we're going to get that stuff knocked out. Got the yard cut one more time, that stuff. And that just makes you feel so accomplished, especially if you're like me and you're type A person. Like everything needs to be in order. Everything needs to be in its place. All right, I give you another space to write things down, and that is essentially your regroup. You have two resource pages rather at the end here. So when I mentioned things like Sexploration, 3-minute game, money date night, sex magic, epic date nights, those things, I wrote those. I kind of give you resources and definitions of what each of those things are and kind of what they might look like in your relationship. So that's there for you. And then again, the resource on the menstrual cycle specifically. So the menstruation phase being the first phase, giving you the sexual energy, and then also what to be able to honor during that time. So for example, menstruation is your first phase. The sexual energy, you're going to be feeling very reflective. So in this phase, you might want to make sure you're scheduling in more time for rest, self-care, alone time. Then moving into your follicular phase, sexual energy is starting to become heightened. So this is the best time for massage, sexploration, role playing, things like that. All right. So this is a really, really, really great tool. I know I'm biased, you guys, but it's been such a game changer in our relationship. Seriously. The last 2 pages of the regroup is a sample week. So you can kind of see what it would look like all laid out and when all of the pieces are put together. And then I give you a blank a week, which is called your week, where you can actually tie in and write in the things for you and your relationship that you decided. So Monday, is going to be your meditation and money date. Tuesday, we're sexploration. Wednesday, we're doing the 3-minute game. Thursday, we're going to go for a walk with the dogs, right? So it's, again, putting all the pieces to the puzzle onto the puzzle, essentially is what that is going to look like. So I hope this was inspiring to you. I hope just hearing maybe even a small portion of this gives you some excitement around this. And again, you can go to my website, rachelmain.com. You're going to go under the resources tab. That's where all my free stuff is available to you. And you'll be able to download it right there. I'll have a direct link here in the show notes for you. Again, if you're getting my email, it'll be linked in the email as well. And I cannot wait. Seriously, please, please, please give me your feedback on this. I have big, big plans for this relationship regroup coming in 2022. So I need your feedback. I need for people to be using this. And I want to hear what do you think it could be used to be tweaked a bit, or what are your favorite parts of it? What parts don't you really care for? I would love to hear your feedback on that. So again, thank you for listening. I hope this is exciting. Happy freaking New Year. Enjoy next week's episode. We're talking about sex and religion to end the year. I thought that was meaningful considering, Christmas is Jesus' birthday and all that good stuff. So if religion is maybe a piece that is standing in the way of you owning your sexual self and embracing your sexual self more, this is going to be a good episode for you to listen to. So happy New Year again, y'all. I love you so much. Thank you. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you loved it, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a thing. And if you loved it so fucking much, be sure to leave a 5-star review. I'll see you next week. And until then, keep owning your sexual self.